Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play. Dan Quinn might have finally stumbled upon the key to unlocking Mike Sainristil's potential, and for Washington Commanders fans, that possibility is both tantalizing and frustratingly overdue. Listed at 5'10" and 183 pounds, Sainristil is the smallest player on the Commanders roster. A fact that in previous years would have seemed inconsequential given his intelligence, anticipation, and sheer toughness. Yet, as 2025 has unfolded, whispers about his size have crept back into conversations surrounding the team's defense, particularly as Sainristil's performance has been inconsistent. The narrative had been clear heading into this season. Mike would finally be positioned where he could thrive, in the slot corner role that best suits his instincts and play-reading ability, after being forced to play on the perimeter throughout 2024 due to injuries in the defensive backfield. The expectation was that 2025 would be different, with Marshon Lattimore healthy and a promising rookie in Trey Amos ready to take over outside responsibilities. Sainristil was supposed to settle into the middle of the field and dominate the slot, cutting through plays before they fully developed. That, at least, was the plan on paper. Reality, of course, has a way of complicating even the most straightforward plans. The Commanders' defense has regressed sharply this season, and while Sainristil cannot be pinned as the primary culprit, he has undeniably been caught in the crossfire of a unit that struggles to maintain its identity. Statistically, his tackling numbers have been a source of concern. After missing just 7 tackles throughout all of last season, Sainristil has already missed 6 in 2025 alone. This surge has pushed his missed tackle percentage north of 10%, a significant jump from the roughly 7% mark he maintained during his rookie year, in a defense that is already teetering on the edge of chaos. These lapses are amplified and often become costly. When the Commanders unexpectedly lost both Lattimore and Amos to injuries, Sainristil was once again thrust into an outside role, a position he had hoped to leave behind for good. The Week 11 matchup against the Miami Dolphins offered a first glimpse of Sainristil back on the perimeter in 2025. And the results were, as you might expect, mixed. The Dolphins came into the game with a clear game plan centered around a heavy dose of the run, often lining up in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and on some occasions, even adding an extra offensive lineman to create even denser formations. Sainristil's assignment frequently placed him directly against tight end Greg Dulcich, who dwarfed him in size and posed a significant matchup challenge, complicating matters further. Miami rarely deployed receivers wide to the left side, meaning that Sainristil, positioned on the right side for much of the game, spent a surprising amount of time essentially operating like a traditional slot corner. Despite lining up on the outside, his responsibilities, while nominally different, didn't allow him to engage as aggressively in run support, leaving him somewhat limited in his overall impact outside of coverage. Many plays saw him merely shadowing his assigned receiver, which meant that while he was often in the right place to make plays in the air, he was less involved in the more physical aspects of defense. The Dolphins' repeated attacks on the other side of the field further limited his opportunities to influence the game, creating a scenario in which he was both present and somewhat invisible at the same time. Despite these limitations, Sainristil's coverage ability stood out at times. His transition to the outside did not appear to affect his comfort level when matched against bigger receivers. A highlight of the game came when he tracked the dangerous Jalen Waddle across the field, maintaining near-perfect blanket coverage and nearly intercepting a pass. That would have been a momentum-changing play for Washington. There were lapses, of course. Waddle did eventually beat him on a deep crossing route, but Sainristil's positioning was sound, and the play's failure fell largely on safety Quan Martin, whose missed tackle allowed the Dolphins a significant gain. Early in the game, Malik Washington also managed to slip past Sainristil on a short out route, but for the most part, the cornerback's sticky coverage helped contribute to critical defensive successes, including plays that directly resulted in sacks by Jacob Martin and Jonathan Jones on both occasions. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was forced to hesitate on Sainristil's side before moving on to his next read, highlighting the subtle but tangible impact Sainristil was capable of when he executed properly. Tackling, however, remains an area of concern. Sainristil missed a relatively straightforward tackle on Dulcich early in the contest, and was physically outmatched by Julian Hill later in the second half, standing at 183 pounds against a tight end who outweighed him by roughly 70 pounds. Sainristil struggled to bring him down. A reminder that size and strength can still limit his effectiveness in the run game. Even so, he was part of a standout goal line sequence, collaborating with linebacker Frankie Lovu to halt Ollie Gordon to on the goal line, and then delivering solid coverage. That forced a crucial fourth down incompletion. These flashes of high-level play underscored that, while Sainristil may have deficiencies in certain physical matchups, his football IQ, positioning, and anticipation can still produce impactful results when applied correctly. The game, however, will likely be remembered less for Sainristil's coverage and more for his foray into special teams, an assignment that defied logic. With regular punt returner Jalen Lane unavailable, Sainristil was called upon to field a punt from Miami's Jake Bailey. His experience returning punts is limited. He only attempted it twice in college, with the last occurrence dating back to 2020. The result was predictable and unfortunate. Sainristil muffed the punt, turning the ball over to the Dolphins and giving them an excellent chance to win the game in regulation. Fate, in this instance, seemed oddly aligned with the Commanders, as the Dolphins were unable to capitalize on the error, first due to a perplexing decision by Miami coach Mike McDaniel to forgo a short field goal, and then because Matt Gay missed a second attempt. Later in the game, the sequence perfectly encapsulated the chaotic narrative of the Commanders in 2025, where small mistakes, bizarre decisions, and narrow escapes seemed to define every outcome. Ultimately, the Week 11 contest served as a microcosm of Mike Sainristil's current reality, a player with clear talent and flashes of brilliance, but one whose limitations are magnified by context, circumstance, and occasionally by his own mistakes. His transition back to the outside shows some promise, particularly in coverage. Yet it also exposes him to more physically demanding matchups and situations, where his size can become a disadvantage. Dan Quinn's challenge moving forward is to find a consistent scheme that leverages Sainristil's strengths while mitigating his weaknesses, a balance that has eluded the Commanders for much of 2025. Fans can at least take comfort in the fact that Sainristil looks slightly more comfortable outside, showing that with careful deployment, he could still be a vital piece of the defensive puzzle. The true test, however, lies ahead. Can he sustain that level of play, remain healthy, and avoid costly mistakes in high-pressure situations? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear: Mike Sainristil is far from finished, and Dan Quinn may have stumbled upon the starting point for a late-season resurgence. Even if the journey there is likely to be messy, unpredictable, and deeply compelling for anyone watching the Commanders' 2025 saga unfold. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. The NFL world has been set ablaze in the last few hours, after shocking new footage has emerged that could fundamentally change the way fans, analysts, and even the league itself view one of the most talked about games this season. The clash between the Dolphins and the Commanders. Whispers had been swirling for weeks, murmurs of controversy and questionable officiating, but now, with these new images circulating online, those rumors have escalated into full-blown frenzy. Fans across social media platforms are dissecting frame by frame, screenshot by screenshot, pointing out moments that were previously buried beneath layers of broadcast angles and official highlights. What was once considered a debatable call has now transformed into what many are calling outright theft, and the NFL's response, or lack thereof, has only fueled the speculation further. People are talking about it in locker rooms, sports bars, online forums, and even in the quiet corners of major media outlets. Everyone seems to have a theory, and no one is holding back. The controversy stems from a series of plays that, until recently, were dismissed as ordinary errors in judgment. However, these new images, some of which are captured from multiple angles previously unavailable to the public, appear to reveal discrepancies that cannot be easily explained away. Fans are noting subtle movements by referees at critical moments, positioning that seems almost strategic, and calls that diverge sharply from what is typically considered standard protocol. Analysts have begun breaking down these plays in excruciating detail, highlighting the timing, positioning, and sequence of events that led to what could arguably be called a miscarriage of justice on the field. The buzz isn't just about the immediate impact on the game, but what it could mean for the integrity of the league as a whole. Conversations are now expanding beyond just who won or lost. They are delving into the structural issues, the accountability of officials, and whether such incidents are symptomatic of a deeper problem in the sport. Insiders hint that the league has quietly launched an internal review. Although official statements remain carefully neutral, almost cryptic, the NFL, known for its media control and strategic communications, is now facing unprecedented pressure. Sources suggest that executives are scrambling to understand the full implications of the leaked footage. Aware that fan trust is at stake, there are murmurs of potential disciplinary action, not only against officials but perhaps even within team management. Although the specifics are shrouded in secrecy, the story has evolved beyond a simple dispute over a call. It has become a saga of power, influence, and the high-stakes world behind the scenes of professional football. Every news cycle, every tweet, every sports commentary show is now feeding off this narrative, and the speculation is only intensifying. Social media influencers and former players alike are weighing in, some claiming the evidence is clear-cut, others urging caution, suggesting that context and angles can be misleading. Yet the court of public opinion seems largely unconvinced by any attempt to downplay the images, with hashtags trending, comment sections overflowing, and fan reactions ranging from outrage to disbelief. What makes this story particularly explosive is not just the potential wrongdoing itself, but the timing of its emergence. At a moment when the league is under intense scrutiny for various controversies, the sudden appearance of this footage has thrown a new layer of complexity into discussions about fairness, transparency, and accountability. Rumors about leaked insider information, hidden cameras, or unauthorized recordings are swirling, and conspiracy theories are multiplying faster than analysts can fact-check them. People are poring over every frame, replay after replay, searching for inconsistencies and hidden signals that might reveal intent. Former players and commentators are even drawing comparisons to historical controversies in the league, suggesting that while questionable calls are not new, the visual evidence in this case is unprecedented in its clarity and scope. The narrative has become a living, breathing entity, feeding on speculation, media amplification, and the collective anxiety of fans who feel their trust in the game might have been compromised. Meanwhile, the Dolphins and the Commanders find themselves caught in a media storm that neither team fully controls. Both organizations have released statements that are formal, restrained, and meticulously worded, yet these statements have done little to quell the firestorm. Rumors suggest internal meetings have been intense, with coaches, players, and executives discussing potential responses and strategies for navigating the fallout. Insiders hint that players themselves are frustrated, feeling that their performances are now being overshadowed by controversy, rather than celebrated for skill and effort. In locker rooms, the atmosphere is reportedly tense, with debates about ethics, fairness, and the long-term consequences of the leaked footage. Beyond the immediate competitive implications, there are whispers about sponsorship concerns, fan engagement, and the reputational stakes for both teams. The narrative is no longer confined to a single game. It has metastasized into a discussion about the very fabric of the league, its governance, and the relationship between players, officials, and fans. The ripple effects of this revelation extend far beyond the NFL's walls. Sports journalists, podcasters, and analysts are racing to contextualize the footage, debating everything from officiating standards to league policies. Every broadcast seems to circle back to these images, and every panel discussion includes at least a segment dedicated to speculation about what the league will do next. Fans are not only dissecting the plays themselves, but also the potential motives and pressures that might have influenced them. Could this be a case of human error magnified by circumstance? Or is there something more deliberate at play? Theories abound, and the intrigue is palpable. Sports media outlets are capitalizing on the buzz, running deep dive analyses, interviews with former officials, and commentary from ex-players who have witnessed similar controversies in their careers. The narrative is growing richer, more layered, and almost impossible to contain, with every new post and video adding fuel to the fire. Some voices in the community are calling for extreme transparency, demanding that the NFL release full, uncut footage, internal communications, and any other material that could clarify the situation. Others warn that jumping to conclusions could be dangerous, emphasizing the need for careful review and measured judgment. Amidst this spectrum of opinion, the drama is only intensifying. What was once a single game now feels like a microcosm of the league itself, reflecting the tensions, power dynamics, and pressures inherent in professional sports. Fans are becoming investigators. Analysts are becoming storytellers, and the lines between rumor, speculation, and reality are increasingly blurred. It's a narrative that thrives on curiosity, controversy, and the collective desire to uncover the truth, no matter how inconvenient it may be for the institutions involved. The imagery circulating is no longer just evidence. It has become a symbol of a much larger story about trust, authority, and the sometimes fragile integrity of professional football. And as the weeks progress, one thing is certain: this story will not quietly fade away. The new images have already reshaped discussions about officiating standards and league accountability, and they will continue to dominate conversations across sports media and fan communities. Rumors about internal investigations, potential disciplinary actions, and behind-the-scenes negotiations are likely to persist, with each new revelation or insider tip adding more layers to an already complex saga. Fans are on edge, analysts are at full tilt, and the league is under a microscope like never before. The Dolphins Commanders controversy has become more than just a game. It has evolved into a narrative about ethics, perception, and the delicate balance between human judgment and technological evidence in professional sports. With the images now in public view, every replay, every angle, every subtle motion on the field is being examined with relentless scrutiny. And while the official story may unfold slowly, the rumor, the excitement, and the outrage are immediate, visceral, and unstoppable. A perfect storm that promises to keep the NFL buzzing for weeks, if not months, to come. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.